Simona De Silvestro returning to the Indianapolis 500 with a brand new team. Kobe and Joe will discuss all about this news that happened. The Daytona 500, NASCAR's bigger race, looking at a very large field trying to enter in. How does the process work of qualifying for the Great American Race? And World Rally Championship returns for the 2021 year. We'll preview the season and the contenders right here on Grid Tonight. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Joe Samaniego. With me, Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish. Please participate in the chat room or leave a comment. Love to hear from you. We'll start with some positive news we heard on Monday from IndyCar.
Automotive and motorsports executive Beth Peretta will enter the 2021 Indy 500 with Porsche factory driver Simona De Silvestro, who will make her IndyCar return for the first time since 2015. De Silvestro will drive the number 16 Peretta Autosport Chevrolet with technical support from Team Penske. In 2010, De Silvestro won the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year award. Joe, how significant is it to have Simona De Silvestro back in the NTT IndyCar series?
It is very significant, especially what happened this year with the Indianapolis 500, where we had no female racer in the race for the first time in 20 years. Essentially, Peppa Mann tried to enter, no sponsorship deal was able to come through, so we had no female racers. And I feel that is such a huge loss, and I think many would agree. For the biggest race in the world to have no female racers, it's a huge loss, not good for the sport. Now with Simona coming in, this doesn't feel like just one driver, one team going to try to make the race. This feels like start of a new wave of female racers, new team owners trying to get in the race. And I think we're going to start seeing a more diverse lineup in the Indianapolis 500.
Yes, it definitely feels like the start of a new era here with Simona De Silvestro returning to the Indy 500. And one thing I want to point out is extremely important that Peretta Autosport is going to be aligned with Team Penske, receiving that technical support, and that's going to be huge for the operation to get off the ground running. And we, in the past, we all saw how talented Simona was in IndyCar. She was exceptionally well on the road courses, with maybe a little work to do on the oval tracks, but all in all, it's definitely a huge win for IndyCar to have another woman back at the Indianapolis 500 attempting to make the race. And depending on how big the grid size is, if we have over 33 entries, then Simona's going to have to qualify and hope that she won't get bumped if that's the case. And this program is a part of IndyCar's new initiative promoting race for equality and change. Peretta Autosport promises to integrate women within the team in order to give them opportunities to work in multiple departments. Is it safe to say that IndyCar's new initiative is off to a solid start with a focus of adding more women and people of color?
It does appear that they are off to a positive start with their new initiative. A lot of people have been raising questions once this initiative was rolled out. Will we see some big changes? And this is definitely, I feel, a good first step. Simona De Silvestro has a lot of experience behind the wheel. She was really good at IndyCar, has a podium. Overall, needs a good ride, good equipment. Having that Penske equipment there is going to be competitive. This is a very exciting start, and I think this could really just encourage a lot of people that are sort of thinking, maybe I want to go IndyCar. Well, knowing that they got this initiative, the equality is there where any concerns of not having the good equipment, maybe not getting sponsors, there's this level where IndyCar knows they value you as a racer, no matter what gender, race, or sexual orientation. You could come in and you can race.
And since Simona's last IndyCar start, she's been all over the world in motorsports racing in multiple series. She raced in Formula E, the Australia Supercars, the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and also she became a Porsche factory driver, which she is right now. And she did serve as a test driver for what is now known as the Alfa Romeo Racing Formula One team. When she left IndyCar, many people were left disappointed because she showed great potential. Now she's back for her sixth attempt at the greatest spectacle in racing. This year, we have an oval race before the Indianapolis 500 with a doubleheader weekend at Texas Motor Speedway, with Simona's last oval race occurring on May 24, 2015. Do you think it might be in her best interest to race at Texas to prepare for Indy?
It's interesting. For other drivers, I would say yes, Texas would be a very important race to get that oval experience. However, with Simona's experience level in IndyCar, she has done the Indianapolis 500. And one of the things that makes the Indianapolis 500 very unique is the amount of time you have testing, practice, preparing that car for the Indy 500. That's why we see drivers like Max Chilton. He doesn't want to do the ovals because you don't get the same amount of track time before the race like you do with the Indy 500. So I feel with Simona, all the experience she has, she's more than capable, I feel, to just show up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with the team, log some hours on the track, and then get herself in a good position for qualifying.
That's definitely an interesting perspective you bring, Joe, because when I was preparing this question for you, I didn't even think about that, about all the practice time you get for the Indianapolis 500 in comparison to some of the other oval sessions where you don't really have a lot of practice time. You might get an hour here and there, and then you qualify, then line them up and race at the other ovals. Well, the Indianapolis 500, you literally have days of practice where you can run laps and laps and laps, and with that in consideration, maybe Simona doesn't need to enter Texas. After all, as you mentioned, she does have experience, although it's been several years. Her last start was in 2015 at Indianapolis, and all of the practice time that she's going to have at Indianapolis. I definitely think that'll be enough in her previous starts at the racetrack, where she'll be able to hit the ground running in no time when she gets used to the feeling of being on the oval once again. I think things are going to be looking up for Simona De Silvestro. And looking at our next story, 14-year-old Japanese driver Juju Noda is making a move to America with plans to compete in the Formula 4 U.S. Championship. Noda Racing has formed a partnership with Jay Howard Driver Development. The daughter of the ex-Formula 1 driver Hideki Noda has been touted as a potential feature star in motorsports. Last year, she competed in the Formula 4 Danish Championship, claiming 3 poles, scoring 1 race victory, and finished 6th in the point standings. At just 14 years old, this is just the beginning for Juju Noda. She is already accomplishing a lot at such a young age and has a great support system behind her. While it's still too soon to determine her career path, I'm wondering, will she get on the road to Formula One, the road to Indy, pursue a career in sports car racing, or something else? Without a doubt, everyone is going to be watching Juju Noda's career develop.
She is definitely a rising star. Everyone's going to be watching. Very exciting to see what she's going to be able to do. Now, one of the things we're all really getting excited about, Daytona 500. This year, the Daytona 500 is looking at potentially 45 or even 46 drivers and teams attempting to enter the race. Now, of course, 36 teams with charge are locked in the race, so they're not worried about not qualifying for the Great American Race. This means there's only 4 spots remaining for teams and drivers that don't possess a charter. In recent years, we have seen several drivers miss out on the Daytona 500, usually smaller group lately, and of course, a little bit less great quality equipment. Still, a crash can eliminate your chance of being in the great race. We saw Daniel Suarez last year crashed out with Gaunt Brothers Racing, didn't make the Daytona 500. For the teams without a chart in the Daytona, trying to enter the Daytona 500, there are 2 ways of entering the great race. First, the 2 fastest single car qualifying will be the 37th and 38th entry locked in. Positions 39 and 40 will have to race their way in through the duels. The teams that don't get in by speed or finish in position goes home. How challenging is it for any team in this position? Is there any advantage, or is everything level since this is a super speedway race?
I'll tell you one thing, Joe. If I'm one of these open teams, I'm gonna be really nervous heading down to Daytona. The only way I feel comfortable and locking myself into the field on speed, if I have an alliance with a large team, let's say for JGR, TRD, Hendrick Engines, Ralph Yates. If I have motors or even a fully prepared car built from one of those larger racings, I'd feel a lot better get out on speed. But if I don't have any major alliances with a top team, I'd feel really worried to get into the race. It's definitely very nerve wracking heading down into speed weeks, especially this year. It looks like we're gonna have well over 40 cars trying to make the race, and we're gonna see some really good cars go home. And if they're lucky enough to make the race, with it being a super speedway race, it doesn't really matter if you start on the pole or dead last in 40. As people have said for many years, the draft is the great equalizer, and I believe with the unpredictability of super speedway races, whether you're in the front, the middle, or the back, if your car will crank on race day, you have a chance to go out and win the Daytona 500.
That is so true. If your car could crank up, get going, you have a shot at winning the biggest race in all of NASCAR Cup Series. Now, of course, some of the teams that are on the outside looking to try to race their way in, Ryan Preece is back with JTG Daugherty Racing, running full time with no charter this year. Kaz Gralla, he's going to try to get in with Colleague Racing. Noah Gregson attempted his Cup Series debut with Beard Motorsports. Chad Fincham and Timmy Hill return to Carl Long's MBM Motorsports. David Reagan returned to Front Row Motorsports with no charter. Ty Dillon recently announced that he would join Gaunt Brothers Racing. And Austin Cindric, Team Penske announced earlier today they'll enter a fourth car for him in the Daytona 500. When you add up the 36 charter teams and the 8 open teams, you have 44 entries. According to Bob Pockers from Fox Sports, we could see potential entries from New York Racing and Tommy Baldwin Racing, bringing that total to 46. Some good teams, some good cars, some great drivers will end up missing the Daytona 500. Kobe, is this one of the most competitive lineups we've seen of drivers and teams that are not guaranteed a shot at starting the Daytona 500?
Yes, definitely for the most part in recent memory, and you just read off all of those names, and it's really crazy that we're going to see one of those drivers miss races. You mentioned Ryan Preece is going to be back with JTG Daugherty Racing, but unfortunately not going to have a charter this year, which is unfortunate for that team. And Kaz Gralla Colleague Racing, a team who hopes to be in the Cup Series full time one day, really good Xfinity organization. Noah Gregson from JR Motorsports and Xfinity Series, David Reagan, who's always been a really good super speedway racer. Ty Dillon, who's going to be part time this year, and Austin Cindric, who's definitely going to be in a competitive car with Team Penske. Just listen to all the drivers on that list. It's like, wow, it's crazy that if some of those drivers will go home and won't race in the Daytona 500. And when looking at this list of drivers who are going to be fighting for those 4 open spots to get into the race, it reminds me of my childhood when I first started watching NASCAR, like around 2007 when that was the first Daytona 500 I watched, and there was some quality drivers missing that race, and it definitely brings back an old school feel to me. And I know a lot of people have been talking about the duels in recent years not really mattering, not meaning much, especially when most people are locked in, or I forgot where I was going with that, but really, Joe, it's a very competitive field this year.
It is a very competitive field, and it has been a really long time. I could only recall like the 90s when NASCAR was booming, we saw such a competitive field. Sometimes we've seen maybe 1 or 2 drivers go home. But you bring us some really good points. These are some big names. Can you imagine if Austin Cindric, for some reason, doesn't get in on speed, try to race his way in, and having a Penske prepared car not get into Daytona 500? That's huge. In the past, we've seen where we have maybe 3 or 4 entries trying to get in, and we know there's 2 that are going to get in, and the other 2, they need a lot of good luck or bad luck from another driver. So definitely, you bring us some really good points when it comes to the quality of teams we have already lined up, and of course, the draft, the super speedways. That combination is going to make it really intense for these teams. Now, one of the big things, of course, we know compared to IndyCar's largest race, the Indianapolis 500, that race, 100% open field. Nobody's guaranteed. You see big names, even Penske failed to make that race. NASCAR, with the charters, the charter holders, they're not worried. They're in the Daytona 500. Is this a good way of increasing the team value using the charter system, ensuring they're in? Or is this taking away a small team's opportunity to get in the Daytona 500?
Well, I'll say this, Joe. If I was trying to enter the Daytona 500, I definitely want to be in one of those 36 chartered cars because you be able to go down to Daytona and rest easy all week long until it's time for the race on Sunday afternoon. Otherwise, I'm gonna be a nervous wreck qualifying. I'm gonna be so nervous and wondering, am I gonna be one of the fastest top 2 open cars? Am I gonna be able to lock myself into the race? If I'm not one of those fastest cars, I'm gonna be terrified on Thursday night. I mean, like terrified on a scale from 1 to 10 will be like a 15 because it's gonna be so intense this year, especially with all of these extra cars. in drivers who are very talented. And also, I've seen some people argue the fact that some of these teams who are going to be entering an open car, so some of these cars are probably going to be way more competitive than some of the 36 chartered cars, and in a way, some people feel like that might not be fair.
Yeah, sometimes people do bring up that point. You have a team in the charter position. They don't have the good equipment. They're not competitive, but they're locked in the race. And then you have a team with better equipment on the outside trying to get in, and there's no spots available. Or bad luck, especially with the Daytona 500, they miss out. So you definitely bring up a really good point. It's definitely going to be really interesting to see how this all works out for those teams. And of course, if we have more entries, will we see 46, 45? Could we even see more? That'd be really off the scale surprising for me if we see more than 46 teams enter the Daytona 500. Now, of course, with that said, the schedule for the week of Daytona 500, NASCAR revealed it. Tuesday, February 9th, the Busch Clash is under the lights at the Daytona Road Course. Wednesday, February 10th, Daytona 500 qualifying under the lights. And Thursdays, the Duels, February 11th. All three of these events will take place 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Friday, February 12th, NASCAR Camping World Truck Series season opener at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Then a Daytona doubleheader Saturday, February 13th with the ARCA Menards and Xfinity Series racing. The ARCA Menards Series will get underway at 1:30 p.m. Xfinity at 5 p.m. Eastern. Both events on Fox Sports 1, and then on Sunday, February 14th, the Great American Race, the 63rd run of the Daytona 500 will get underway at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Now, one series that is looking to get their season underway this week, and in fact tomorrow, the World Rally Championship, the 2021 WRC season is set to begin at Rally Monte Carlo. Will play host for the season opener this year. 12 rounds for the 2021 schedule ended at Japan, November 11th through the 14th. Last season, the WRC saw a thrilling final race at Monza, where the points leader crashed out and lost the championship lead. This year, Elfyn Evans is back in his number 33 Toyota Gazoo Racing, looking to claim his first WRC championship. We've seen this happen in the other series, Kobe. Point leader looking to go get their first championship, enters the last race, loses it. Does this add more pressure for the following year to try to go back and reclaim that championship that they lost out on?
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of pressure for Elfyn Evans to come back and try to claim a championship, which I honestly thought was going to be his until he ended his 2020 season with a bang, literally with a bang. And I can't imagine how heartbreaking that was for Elfyn Evans after being so close to winning that elusive championship. He just slipped away at the very last moment.
Slipped away, made the Monza event something nobody's going to forget. And of course, last year, with such a short season, he really looked like he was in a good spot to get it. But just that last race, it all went downhill. Carrying the title of the defending champion, Sebastian Ogier, 7-time WRC champion. Last year, got in dramatic style when Elfyn Evans crashed out. He is only 37 years old. Still plenty of time to win another championship, and he is in a Toyota as well. So him and Evans, equal equipment. Are Evans and Ogier going to pull away from teammates Kali Rovanpera and Takamoto Katsuta?
Most likely, yeah, but I think Kali could win a race here or there. Takamoto possibly, but for the most part, I think Hyundai is going to be the biggest threat.
I do have to agree with you. I see Hyundai being a bigger threat than the teammates, because we saw last year with Hyundai, they're back. They have 4 drivers again. Tonic and Thierry Neuville, both of them looking at contending. Thierry, of course, got a win last year. So did Tonic. But for Tonic, it was really interesting. He won the 2019 championship with Toyota. 2020 goes to Hyundai. Not a great start. Only 1 win. This was his first time he went with just 1 win since 2017. 2017, 18, 19, multiple wins. Now 2020, Now he's in the second year with Hyundai. Same team, same car. Is he a bigger contender for the championship? And why is it we see in auto racing a lot of times a second year for a team and a driver seem to be the bigger improvement?
I think all across motorsports, it comes with chemistry and time to gel and click with your entire team. And multiple disciplines of motorsport, we've seen drivers change teams to team from year to year, and some driver and team, new team, they'll hit it off right from the start, while others they'll have growing pain, and over time they'll start to mesh, and everything will come together fully.
You bring up a really good point. Chemistry, getting used to that equipment, especially this year. Once we go to some of the events where they're there second time, Tonic is going to have really good familiarity with what the vehicle is going to do. The races where we didn't see race last year because of the pandemic, canceling them, it's going to be really interesting to see still be that same level of dominance, or could that give the upper hand to Toyota? The final four team there is Ford. Ford did not get a win at all last season. Of course, Sebastian Ogier left for Toyota after 2019, but only 7 races last year. Most of them were canceled due to the pandemic. 12 entries in WRC, 9 in WR2 racing. All of them, of course, racing together. So we got a good field. See who's going to get the win at Rally Monte Carlo. And speaking about win, it is now time for the first pick a winner for 2021. Kobe, you are the defending champion. Rally Monte Carlo. Last year we saw Thierry Neuville won his Hyundai. Sebastian Ogier, second place, but he has 7 wins at this event. And of course, Elfyn Evans, third place. Who do you see taking the win?
Well, I think I'm going to go with Elfyn Evans here. His 2020 season ended in great disappointment. I think in order to start his recovery, in order to try to claim the championship that got away, he's going to win Rally Monte Carlo.
That's a really good pick. I think somebody that's going to have to come here strong, looking really good, and try to make a statement that I am for real with this championship. Thierry Neuville, I see him getting a Rally Monte Carlo win, taking it to everybody else, and try to contend for that championship. The Hyundai team, I think there's going to be big improvements, and I do agree with you what you said earlier. That's going to be the bigger threat to Toyota Gazoo Racing. Now, one of the things that occurred last week, Taylor Gray posted a controversial video on social media. In testing while behind the wheel of an ARCA car at Daytona, Gray recorded a video of himself driving down the Daytona backstretch at racing speed. Gray received significant criticism for this move, as many called it immature, reckless, and dangerous. As a result, ARCA has fined the 15-year-old $1,000 and placed him on probation for the remainder of the 2021 ARCA season.
And next, I'm going to talk about some news from IMSA that we really shouldn't be surprised to see. BMW Team RLL announced that they will not run full-time in IMSA this year with GTLM's car count in question. BMW decided to solely focus on the Michelin Endurance Cup with the number 24 and 25 BMW M8 GTEs. Started with the number 24 BMW, we have John Edwards, Jesse Krohn, and Augusto Farfus in for all 4 Enduros. Marco Whitman is in for Daytona only. Then Bruno Spengler, Connor DeFilippi, and Philip Ing in the number 25 BMW for all the Enduros, with Timo Glock completing the lineup for Daytona. How does BMW's mindset change this year with a focus on the endurance title only instead of the season-long championship?
It's really interesting question. But this one, I feel one of the big things they could really just focus on is just the individual race, and they're not thinking about a bigger picture of a championship. It's just going out there, winning the races. It simplifies everything. There's no need to just take it easy at this race. It's going out there. We want to go out there and win this race. We're not racing for the bigger picture of the championship. It's just going out there and collecting the first place trophy.
And with BMW not running the entire season, we only have 3 GTLM cars running for the overall championship, 2 C8Rs from Corvette Racing and the Proton WeatherTech Racing Porsche 911 RSR. How do you think GTLM will survive with just 3 cars, or is this just an early sign that the end is near for the GTLM class?
It might be a sign that the end could be coming for the GTLM class, unless there's some sort of big technical changes, which we could see more entries. or some sort of structure change when it comes to ownership of the teams, trying to recruit teams. But I just see this where essentially we're going to be looking at a different class coming into the spot or some significant change. But as the current way, I don't see how it can improve the car count.
Yeah, I really don't see GTLM making it to 2022, to be honest with you. It's really unfortunate because personally, GTLM has been one of my favorite classes in all of motorsports to follow, and it's just really sad to see in its current state. Yeah, and I know Daytona, we're going to see the same number of cars that we saw last year compete for the championship, which is great, better than nothing. The 2 Corvettes, the 2 PMWs, the Risi Competizione Ferrari, and then the Proton WeatherTech Racing Porsche 911 RSR. That's probably going to be the highlight of the season, if I'm being honest, with the Rolex 24 and GTLM, because it's definitely going to be different watching the 2 Corvettes and the Proton Porsche with sponsorship from WeatherTech battle it out each week. And I think moving forward, IMSA's probably not going to have any choice but to elevate the GTD platform as the only GT class, and maybe split. And they're probably going to have to split it up with there being maybe a GT3 Pro class and a GT3 AM class, because otherwise I don't see where the GTLM or even the GT platform, which is also struggling in the World Endurance Championship, I really don't see how it goes much further, because it's really just run its life cycle, if I'm being honest. And I know earlier in the program we talked about Simona De Silvestro and Juju Noda, but overall it's been a terrific week for women in racing. At first with Simona returning to IndyCar in the Indy 500, second Juju Noda getting a Formula 4 ride in the United States. Now Laura Weintraub-Klauser is getting promoted to the head of Chevrolet sports car racing program after playing a lead role in the Cadillac DPI project. With GM promoting her to a larger role, she'll be overseeing the activities at Corvette Racing. She certainly has big shoes to fill, especially with Corvette, letting longtime manager Doug Fehan go. Based on her success with the Cadillac prototype, she will certainly be up for the challenge. This should serve as an inspiration to many young women wanting to work in high-level positions in motorsports, and Laura Weintraub-Klauser will certainly help pave the way for others. Now it's time to end our program with some quick takes.
Rick Ware Racing announced part of his 2021 Cup driver lineup. Cody Ware will run full-time in the number 51 Chevrolet. Josh Belicki also running full-time in the number 52 Chevrolet. Then, 1990 winner of the Daytona 500, Derek Cope will get behind the wheel of the number 15 Chevrolet. Rick Ware said this will be Cope's final Daytona 500 start. Cope is 62 years old.
Hey, of course, it confirmed its 2021 FIA World Endurance Championship GT Pro driver lineup. James Calado and Alessandro Perguidi will return to the number 51 Ferrari 488 GTE. The sister car has been renumbered from the number 71 to number 52. Miguel Molina and Daniel Serra will go for the championship, with Davide Rigon stepping back to an endurance role at Le Mans, and Rigon will focus on his programs in the Asian Le Mans Series and GT World Challenge Europe.
An Asian Le Mans Series team will be stepping up to the FIA World Endurance Championship. D-Station Racing will enter an Aston Martin with GTE AM class in partnership with TF Motorsports, with Japanese driver Tomonobu Fuji and Satoshi Hoshino. The third silver-rated driver to complete the lineup will be announced at a later date.
Indy Lights driver Kyle Kirkwood will add some IMSA endurance races to his 2021 racing program. After impressing the Vassar Sullivan squad last year, it earned him a contract for the Michelin Endurance Cup in the number 14 Lexus with full-time drivers Jack Hawksworth and Aaron Talitz. Corvette racing legend Oliver Gavin is racing with the team at Daytona. Kirkwood's IMSA duties will go along with this full-time Indy Lights program with Andretti Autosport.
We'll truly appreciate if you took 5 minutes after the show to join our Patreon. Share with our page with your friends, family, and followers that are into motorsports. We are very transparent with your investment in the Grid Network. We appreciate calling our first Patreon. Have your name appear on our program. Click on the video description to join our Patreon. We're very excited about our next 2 episodes coming up. Thursday, the Women Racing to Win, hosted by myself and Daniel from Racers, the Girls Behind the Helmet. Saturday, Grid Live News, noon Eastern Time. Latest news and reports and discussion about the world of racing. We invite you to visit our website, gridrankin.com, and be sure to get your furry friends goodies from Pawbless. 10% of your purchase goes to helping a dog in need, whether it's homeless, sick, needs adoption, rescue, a good cause, and Grid Network viewers, good news, you get a discount for being a viewer of the Grid Network. Link in the video description down below. But definitely encourage everyone to check out Pawbless.com. For Kobe Lambeth at the Podium Finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Joe Samaniego here. Want to invite you to go check out Pawbless. Pawbless is a dog clothing and accessory company based in Austria. 10% of each of your purchases goes to helping dogs in need, whether it's homeless, sick, or ill dogs. This is one of the reasons why we support it. Kiska here is a rescue dog from rural Alaska and our Grid office dog. We care about our furry buddies, and we know you do as well. Definitely check out Pawbless.com. There's a link on the video description, and by clicking on that link, you get a 10% discount on your purchase as well.